Right, Councillor Whitaker, it's I make it's almost 6:35. If you want to start the meeting, I think we've got pretty much everyone here who's supposed to be here. So I'll hand over to you.
Hello. Good evening, members, officers and members of the public watching online. Welcome to today's annual council meeting. I am Councillor Paul Whitaker and I am the council's chairman and will be chairing today's meeting. This meeting is being live streamed on the council's YouTube channel and will be archived for later viewing. Please can I start with some important procedure points. Please use the virtual hand button on your screen to indicate that you wish to speak and then wait to be asked. Please do not speak over one another. However, you may interrupt to make a point of procedure, to make a procedural point of order, and if you have arrived late and need to tell us that you are present at the meeting. Please turn your microphone on and off before and after speaking, just as you would in the face-to-face meeting. If you do not turn it off, the monitor will mute it for you. To avoid background noise, please also turn off your virtual hand button after speaking. Can I now ask the Democratic Service Manager to take a roll call of members present at this evening's meeting?
Thank you very much, Councillor Whitaker. So I'll read out each individual member. If you could just let me know that you're present at the meeting, that'd be most helpful. So Councillor Barrett.
Present.
Councillor Brockbank.
Present.
Councillor Brown.
Here.
Councillor Foster.
Yeah.
Councillor Handley.
Present.
Councillor Harbron.
Present.
Councillor Heseltine.
Present.
Councillor Hull.
All right.
Can hear you, Councillor Hull. So if you'd just like to indicate that you're present, and I can mark you off.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Ireton. I don't think we have Councillor Ireton present at the meeting yet. Councillor Jackwin. Jackwin, if you'd just like to unmute yourself.
Yes. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Liz.
Present.
Councillor Madeley. No, I thought I saw Councillor Madeley. I might come back to you, Councillor Madeley. Councillor Mercer has given his apologies. Councillor Metcalfe.
Present.
Councillor Morby.
Present.
Councillor Morell.
Present.
Councillor Mulligan.
Present.
Councillor Myers.
Present.
Councillor Noland.
Present.
Councillor Pighills has given his apologies. Councillor Place.
Present.
Councillor Pringle.
Present.
Councillor Rose.
Present.
Councillor Shuttleworth. Just scroll down the list to see Councillor Shuttleworth. I thought I'd seen him. No. Okay, we might come back to Councillor Shuttleworth. Councillor Soloway,
Present.
Unmuted you. No.
Councillor Staveley,
Present.
Councillor Sutcliffe,
Present.
Councillor Welsh,
Here.
Councillor Wheeler,
Present.
and you've started the meeting already, Councillor Whittaker, so we know you're present. Councillor Madeley,
Here.
Excellent, thank you. So just Councillor Ireton and Councillor Shuttleworth are not here at the moment. If they are present at the meeting, we'll pick that up later on. But that's it for now, Councillor Whittaker. So back over to you for apologies for absence.
Guy, have you got me as Shuttleworth?
Councillor Shuttleworth, I will mark that you are present at the meeting. Yes, I will mark that you're present at the meeting, Councillor Shuttleworth. Thank you. Councillor Whittaker, it's item number 1, apologies for absence. Do you want to introduce that? You're just on mute at the moment.
Is that better?
There we go. Yep.
Okay. Apologies for absence. Are there any other than what you've already read out?
Just the 2 that I've already referred to, Councillors Mercer and Pighills.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to declare any interests? Nobody wishing to declare any interest?
No, Chairman.
There are no declarations of interest, it would appear, Councillor Whittaker.
You're muted again, Councillor Whittaker. You're muted.
Unmuted. Again, is that right now?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you. I don't know why it keeps doing it itself, but anyway. Thank you all for choosing me to be your chairman for 12 months. Haha. For the first 9 months, I was very busy meeting civic heads from all over North Yorkshire, meeting old friends and making new ones. The last civic do was in York, just before lockdown. There was no shaking hands, no kissing, just nudging each other's elbows. Then came the total lockdown, and even with an extra 2.5 months, there's still nothing. I'm not blaming the council or the government. It's just one of those things. So thank you. We have a lot to do tonight, so we'll keep moving. Thank you. Please, can I have nominations for the chairman of council for 2002/21 municipal year? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I think if you refer to the participant screen, Councillor Whittaker, I think Councillor Foster has indicated that he wishes to speak.
Okay. Councillor Foster?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Harborough for chair, please.
Oh, you're in front,
Yeah.
right. We got that, right. Thank you. I'll second that. All those in favour, please show.
Thank you, Councillor Whittaker. I don't think we need to take a roll call vote on that. So it's just, if we can do that sort of show of consent, unless there's anyone against it, I don't think there is. I think we're able to confirm you as we're able to confirm Councillor Harborough as chairman. for the 2020-21 municipal year. Thank you.
Therefore, I declare Councillor Harborough has therefore been elected as chairman of Craven District for the municipal year 2020 to 21. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. Councillor Whitaker, I think because you've now done a second term of office, I think it will be appropriate that because
Councillor Harborough, if I can just come in, I've just muted you just for a second. We're getting quite a bit of feedback and interference. It's possible that's due to if you've got two devices operating at the same time. That might be a reason for it. So if you've got another device that you're operating at the same time, it might be an idea to turn the other one off and just use the meeting. Just use a device that you're using for the Zoom meeting. That might be helpful because there is a fair bit of feedback that's coming through. Thank you.
Guy, I've got Councillor Heseltine in the same room as myself, so we're going to switch Councillor Heseltine off. We'll share the same computer.
Right. Okay. Well, immediately, I think that's already improved things. So that might be the way forward. Thank you, Councillor Harborough.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Whitaker on what's not been a fantastic year for him. But I think because he's done his second term of office, I think it's only appropriate that to keep the chains of office on display tonight, that Councillor Whitaker continues wearing them for the course of the full two meetings tonight, if that's okay with you, Councillor Whitaker. Yeah.
Okay.
That leads us on to the acceptance of office. I, Councillor Christopher James Harborough, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Craven District Council, declare that I will duly and faithfully fulfil these duties of the role according to the best of my judgment and the best of my ability. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look. Where am I now? Okay. That's my speech. Okay, members, if you look at your papers now, we're going to be under agenda item number 4, and that will be election of Vice Chairman of the Council. Could I have your nominations, please? Oh, sorry, I've got to give a speech. Sorry, members. Okay. I'm not sure, given recent events, that Councillor Whitaker will now have his name proudly presented on the board of ex-chairman for an additional once. That'll be 2 times that he's on the board. Myself, at the end of this year, I'll also be on the board an additional once. That means I'll be on there twice. Meanwhile, there's a board of other important citizens of Craven that's barely got anybody on there whatsoever. We've got the Yorkshire Regiment mentioned. We've got 2 Olympic athletes mentioned. Other than maybe 2 councillors that are now aldermen and women, the board remains quite blank. Now, given the last 2-3 years of my life, in 2018, I found myself in St James's Hospital in Leeds, having suffered 2 heart attacks. I owe my life to the surgeons and all the hospital staff for bringing me back from the brink. I'm proposing that during this term of office, we start filling the board up with additional people that are warranted to be on that board. If I was, if it was in my gift, I would give the heart wing of the hospital in Leeds freedom of the district. However, it isn't in my gift, but that is basically what I would like to do. Come forward 12 months, because I liked hospital food, I found myself in Airedale Hospital on Stroke Ward 5, having suffered a stroke. And again, they brought me back from the brink and have absolutely made it so that I could fulfill this role today. And once again, I would give them the freedom of the district tomorrow if it was in my gift. It would be nice if during this 12 months, a group of past chairmen could get together and consider how we reward people in general, given that we've just had a COVID crisis and the NHS has been cropping up time and time again. So I will have a word with the officers to see if we can bring a paper over the next 1 or 2 council meetings to see if we can start filling that board up a little bit more. During my term of office, I'm going to continue supporting the same cause that Councillor Whitaker was supporting last year, which is the Take Heart charity, which is run out of Leeds General Infirmary. And what they do is fantastic. They offer overnight accommodation for parents of sick children so that they can stay for free. They built roof gardens. They've done amazing things. And I also got to watch television whilst I was inmate there. Okay. I think that's all I've got to say really about my term of office. I'm looking forward to it, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to raising the profile of the district and also raising the profile of these organisations that have really kept us all going in these last few months. Thank you very much. Now it's agenda item 4. So can we have some nominations, please? Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Alan Sutcliffe, please, Chairman.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And I'm assuming there are no other nominations on the table at the moment.
There is no one else wishing to speak. No other nominations have been put forward. So it's been moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Myers that Councillor Sutcliffe be appointed as chairman, vice chairman of the council.
Therefore, the question has been put. Members, all those in favour of Councillor Sutcliffe?
And I'm voting, but they can't see me. I'm voting for.
Councillor Heseltine is in the room and he is voting in favour of Councillor Sutcliffe.
Okay, I think we've got general consent there. We've certainly got no one against that, no one indicating that they're against that. So it's really now a matter for Councillor Sutcliffe to read out his declaration of acceptance of office. Councillor Sutcliffe, do you wish to unmute yourself and make your declaration of office? You're muted at the moment.
That's it.
Right, I think I'm unmuted now. Is that all right?
You are. Thank you, Councillor Sutcliffe.
Right. Well, as I said before, thank you very much for electing me to this office. We have a lot of business tonight, so I'll be brief. But first of all, the formalities. If I could at this point in time read out the acceptance of office. I, Councillor Alan O. Sutcliffe, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Craven District Council, declare that I will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of the role according to the best of my judgment and ability. Now, at this point, Guy, I think it's down to me to sign this document and hold it up so that you can see it. Bear with me a minute whilst I put a signature on it. to confirm the arrangements. Perhaps everybody can see that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Is-
Councillor Sutcliffe.
May I inquire, is Annette Moppet happy with that?
Nodding her head, I think that's a yes.
Right, well, at this point in time, I have nothing further to say, Chairman. Thank you very much.
In that case, it's back over to you, Councillor Harbour, on agenda item 5, announcement of Chairman's consort. Right, we appear to have lost Councillor Harbour. He's gone off screen, so we will just give him a couple of moments to rejoin the meeting. John, if you're present at the meeting, if you wouldn't mind just giving Councillor Harbour a call just to check that, that he's all right logging back on. Thank you.
Not a problem. I'll do so now.
Thanks, John.
He's lost his connection.
So
Sorry, guy, I got booted then. I don't know what happened.
Right. Okay. Well, you're back in. You're back on now. We're just waiting. If you missed that, we're just waiting for Councillor Harbour to rejoin the meeting. He must have lost connection. So IT are working on it now. They're in touch with Councillor Harbour, so hopefully we'll have him back with us soon.
Is it procedurally possible to do something like minutes from the second meeting with Vice Chair taking us through that?
I may refer this to Annette, but my my understanding is that we should give up to 5 minutes for Councillor Harbour to rejoin the meeting.
Just to let you know, I'm not able to get in touch with Councillor Harbour at the moment. It is ringing, but not getting any answer.
Okay, it's possible he's busy, I suppose, trying to log himself back on. So we'll just give Councillor Harbour a little bit longer.
Are you using his new telephone number? He has a new telephone number.
I've been given a mobile number that's possibly not his most current. in that case.
Good evening, Chairman. I apologise for lateness from me. I've struggled to get connected. I've had to use a different computer.
Thank you, Councillor Ireton. The chairman isn't with us at the moment. He's just lost connection. So thank you for joining us. We're hoping to get him reconnected as soon as we can. And once he's rejoined the meeting, we'll start again. We'll on to agenda item 5, announcement of chairman's consort.
I'm glad somebody else is struggling with technology.
I've been able to get through to the councillor's answer phone, and I have left a message for him to give me a call. I suspect he is trying to connect in, but currently no joy in getting me in touch with him.
Okay, thanks, John.
Have we tried Councillor Heseltine, who's in the same room?
John, would you mind giving Councillor Heseltine a ring? Might be able to operate from Councillor Heseltine's laptop.
I certainly will, yes.
Thank you. We might be in joy. I think Councillor Harbron's trying to rejoin the meeting.
Right. What about?
Looks like they're all waiting for you to get in.
Apologies for that, members. We've got some technical difficulties at this end. The broadband line went down. Funny for Skipton.
Okay.
I think we're back in good to go again.
Thank you, Councillor Harbron. Just to recap then, just in case you weren't aware, Councillor Sutcliffe under agenda item 4, election of vice chairman of the council. Councillor Sutcliffe read out and signed his declaration of acceptance of office.
Okay.
He was able to conclude that, and we were moving on to agenda item 5. So agenda item 5 is the announcement of the chairman's consort.
Thank you. Yes, my consort this year will be Annabelle Heseltine. Excellent, thank you. I don't know when the script is. Right, okay. No, that's not it. Where's my bloody script? Right, thank you. Okay. Okay, this brings me on to item number 6, the vote of thanks for the retiring chairman. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Whitaker. And I think it's over to the leader of the council to say a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. You've been a big help this year, and it's not been easy. Obviously, the second half missing out, but we all know the circumstances why. So, yeah, congratulations on a good year and doing some really good work for your charity. And hope you enjoy your dotage now in the council, so to speak, for the next couple of years. So, yeah, thanks from all of us. Cheers, Paul.
Okay, members, that concludes the first part of tonight's meeting.
Well, just before we do that, we do have item number 7, which is recommendations of selection committee. Councillor Harbron.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I do apologise. Yes, absolutely. Item number 7, recommendations of the selection committee. Okay. We have recommendations from selection committee that require confirmation by the council. Are there any amendments to the nominations being put forward by any of the groups? No. Does any member wish to debate the minutes of the selection committee? Okay, no. Okay. Councillor Whitaker, as the chairman of the selection committee, will you move the recommendations?
I move those recommendations, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a seconder?
Seconded, Chairman.
Okay. So members, all those in favour?
Thank you, Councillor Harbron. If you don't mind for this item, as they are appointments to committees, I will ask if it's okay if I can take a roll call. I know it's fairly tiresome. I'll try and do it as quickly as I can. But if I could just take a roll call of members, just to indicate, members could just indicate whether they're for, against, or wish to abstain. If you could mute yourselves, that'd be most helpful. I'll try and whiz through it as quick as I can. So, Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbron.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull. I can't see Councillor Hull on the screen. We may have lost Councillor Hull for the moment, so I may come back to Councillor Hull. Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley.
For.
Councillor Mercer has given his apologies. Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morrell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan. For. Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For.
Councillor Pickles has given his apologies. Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Welsh.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
Thank you. And Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Just scroll back up, see if I can see if Councillor Hull has arrived. I don't think she has. Just give her a second opportunity.
How is it?
Councillor Hull?
Need one of these.
Councillor Hull, I can see you on my list. Are you for? Are you for or against? Oh, you've muted yourself again. Do you want to unmute yourself? Right. Okay. I think there might be a problem with your audio. John, I might ask if you could perhaps provide Councillor Hull with some assistance, because Councillor Hull is clearly visible on my screen and present at the meeting, but her audio it doesn't appear to be working. So I think we'll leave that.
Not a problem. I'll get in touch now.
Okay. Thanks, John. Well, otherwise, all members are in favour of those recommendations that were made by Selection Committee. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. That's carried. Okay. Now that draws a close to the first part of the evening. If members would like a comfort break, by all means, we could have a 5-minute recess. No? Councillor Staveley, Councillor Foster saying no. Brilliant. Okay, that's fine. In that case, we'll continue with the second part of tonight's meeting.
Can you hear me now?
Ordinary Council meeting, 5th of August 2020. Guy, are there any apologies for absence?
There are no apologies. The apologies for absence are the same as the Emmanuel Council, Councillors Mercer and Pighills. As this is a separate meeting, this is now the ordinary council meeting and not the annual council meeting. Apologies, members, but I'm going to have to do the roll call of members present again. It needs to be treated as a separate meeting. So again, if you could indicate whether that you're present at the meeting, that'd be most helpful. So if you could unmute yourselves, that'd be great. Councillor Barrett.
Oh, that's sort of here. Cracking up with all this.
Councillor Brockbank.
Present.
Councillor Brown.
Still here.
Councillor Foster.
Likewise.
Councillor Hanley.
Present.
Councillor Harbrun.
Present.
Councillor Heseltine.
Present.
Councillor Hull. Right, we might just come back to Councillor Hull. Councillor Ireton.
Present.
Councillor Jackwin.
Present.
Councillor Liz.
Present.
Councillor Madeley.
Present.
Councillor Metcalfe.
Yeah, present.
Councillor Morby.
Present.
Councillor Morrell.
Present.
Councillor Mulligan.
Present.
Councillor Myers.
Present.
Councillor Noland.
Present.
Councillor Place.
Present.
Councillor Pringle.
Present.
Councillor Rose.
Present.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
Present.
Councillor Soloway.
Present.
Councillor Staveley.
Present.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Present.
Councillor Welsh.
Here.
Councillor Wheeler.
Present.
Councillor Whitaker.
Present.
Councillor Hull. Right, I think Councillor Hull is just speaking to IT to overcome a technical issue. So perhaps when Councillor Hull resolves those technical issues, if she could make the council meeting, could you make it clear to the council meeting that she's back with us, that'd be great. Okay, thank you very much, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, moving on. Item number 2, minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of February 2020. Can we confirm that they're a true and correct record?
Move them, Chair.
Okay, move them.
Seconded.
Anybody who would like seconded, thank you very much. All is in favour, please show their hands.
Agreed.
And for the record, Councillor Heseltine is he's put his hand up as well.
That's-
Okay, that is carried, members. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Item number 3, public participation. I'm not aware of anybody from the public wanting to speak tonight, so that kindly moves us forward. Okay. Is that true, though?
That is correct, Councillor Harron. We don't have any members of the public in attendance tonight.
Super. That brings us on nicely to item number 4, declarations of interest. Any member got any interests to declare?
No, Chairman.
No. Like mind. Okay, fantastic. That brings us on to item number 5, devolution for North and Yorkshire and York. Councillor Foster, do you wish to move the Chief Executive report? And is there a seconder? Thank you.
Happy to move the recommendations concerning the report. Thank you.
I'm very happy to second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. Mr. Shevlin, have you got anything to add to your report at all?
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's quite a lengthy report. There's a lot of detail contained within there. Members had a session with James Farrer, and that helped to influence the final asks that are being put to government. It will be part of a negotiation. I think it's best to say that the time is fluid and may change from the timetable that you've seen printed there. And I'll try and answer any questions. I'm sure Councillor Foster, who's well versed in this as well, and David Smurthwaite will be happy to chip in.
Thank you very much, Paul. Councillor Foster, have you got anything that you'd like to add to that?
Not a lot, really. I mean, it's written in the recommendations. It's a big piece of work. It's the first thing we send out to government. They then alter it. It comes back. Each time it comes back, we'll let members have a view of it, and we'll keep sending it backwards and forwards, I'm guessing, between us and government until we get a final draft of it, and then at which point it'll all come back to members to get sorted out. So see if we like it or not when it comes back the final time.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. Does any other member wish to speak on the report? Councillor Brown, I've got your hand up. Over to Councillor Brown, please.
Yeah, a couple of things to say on it. It's strange timing, this, isn't it? We're in the middle of a pandemic, and so one of my first questions is how much time has the leader and the chief executive spent on local government reorganisation at a time when the public might be expecting us to focus extremely strongly on our preparations for any potential outbreak in our area. So it seems to me it's very strange timing. It's been I mean, I understand we haven't chosen this, and any criticisms I'm making today are not particularly directed at our local folk, but the time spent is my first question. Second thing is that I've heard some strange claims bandied about in terms of numbers. I've heard £25 million savings. And my second question is, we haven't been told how those savings are to be achieved. And I'd like to know if that claim is accurate. Could we see the figures on which it's based? Because I think I could make 25 million saving out of reorganising these councils, but the way I would have to do it would be to close all the local offices and just have a service centre in most of the major towns and have one central office. Is that the plan? What is the plan to achieve this kind of saving? The third point I want to make is there's some strange geography being bandied about. I think we all wanted, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that virtually unanimously, we wanted one Yorkshire, and that was what was wanted across Yorkshire, with a possible exception on occasions of South Yorkshire. I don't think anybody likes the idea of central government telling Yorkshire that it can't have a Yorkshire mayor because it's too big, when London has its own mayor, Greater Manchester has its own mayor, but we're now fostered with this idea that we've got to, foisted on us this idea we've got to have one mayor, different mayors for different bits of Yorkshire. And the idea that we've now got a possibility of one Yorkshire mayor for North Yorkshire or one for part of North Yorkshire. Well, to me, the idea of a mayor is the person can go to London and doors will open and the person will be able to speak on our behalf and get listened to, and TV studios will put them on and listen to what they say. I don't see that happening for a mayor of half of North Yorkshire. And I'm not even sure it will happen for a mayor of the whole of North Yorkshire. So why is it okay for a mayor for 8 million Londoners, but not okay for a mayor for Yorkshire? Fourth thing I want to say is a strange lack of local knowledge in some parts of this report, possibly because of the peculiarities of geography. I can't find, for instance, the Skipton to Cone railway link being reopened as part of policy documents. That's central to what most people in this meeting think is a really important project for us locally. And part of that is down to the strangeness of the geographies, where we've got people who look naturally to Darlington and people who look naturally to Hull and people who look naturally to Lancaster and people in my ward who look naturally to Leeds, all potentially in the same geography. Strange ideas of representing North and local democracy, I think, when, if you visualize a planning committee meeting representing, say, the whole of North Yorkshire, serious possibility that a village could be discussed and a proposal that impacts really serious on the life of that village, and not a single person who's ever actually been to that village would be making the decisions on anything other than just a temporary sort of visit on the day of the decision. The other thing is some of the new money that's been promised. We've been promised that there'll be plenty of new money around here. Every single penny of that money that I can trace is recycled money that would naturally have come to this area under other circumstances, but has been used by central government to bully us into line with their idea of what our representation should be. Seems to me outrageous that we are told by central government what model for local government we can have, and we're left with just a decision of which configurations of peculiar geography of North Yorkshire we've got. So to me, it's the wrong time, the wrong geography, implausible finances, and simply central government telling us what model of local government works for us. So I understand why the leadership has ended up where it is, but it's a bleeding peculiar place that we've ended up.
Right, thank you very much. Now I've got one or two people that have indicated to speak, and I think it's only right that Mr. Shevlin has an opportunity of responding to Councillor Brown there, and then we have Councillor Foster, and then we've got Councillor Soloway and Councillor Wheeler in that order, if that's okay, gentlemen.
My apologies, Chairman. I should have made it clear at the start of this report that this is the devolution report, and these are the asks which are going to government, which will be part of a long negotiation. Now, this is not a report on local government reorganisation per se. So this is not getting into the geography of the LGR. That will come in due time. I would hope it will present a report to members in September. So geography is not part of this, except we've been told quite clearly that the only offer on the table for devolution is a combined authority, and that's a mayoral combined authority for North Yorkshire and York. So, but that is the combined authority, which is related to, but very separate from, local government reorganisation. Now, where the confusion has arisen is that government has said that we can't have devolution without local government reorganisation. And that's where the two meet, but they're actually very separate processes which have to come through members. All we're doing tonight is, if you like, the starter for 10. So these are the asks that are in front of you, and that is a starter to say, let's go and negotiate with government and see what we can get. And as Councillor Foster has already said, before we sign any deal, it has to come back to members for council, indeed each of the constituent councils, to get that full approval. In terms of the Skipton Colne railway line, which is very pertinent, that is something that we continue to press for. It can be argued part of the overall ask, but very, 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 very few schemes are identified per se. This is a wrap up, you will see, whether it be on green issues, whether it be on housing, whether it be on transport, you'll see the sums that are actually bid for, asked for from government. So that's what this is about. Saving, I will deal with that saving question, because it's actually, again, an element of real confusion, because the 25 million in this report is about gain share from government. So what government will do is any devolved authority with a mayor, so that's a mayoral combined authority, they will negotiate a gain share. So money to come to that devolved authority over a period of 30 years. And what the likely figure is around 25 million. So it's not a saving as such. This is money that will come to the area, that's York and North Yorkshire area, to be invested in the area. So not a saving, this is about an investment for the future, should the devolution deal be negotiated successfully. That figure might go up, it might go down, depending on the success of the negotiations and indeed what government are willing to offer. I think that's picked up most of Councillor Brown's issues, but if there's anything else, Chair, I'm very happy to come back.
Thank you, Mr. Sherlin. Thank you. Does that satisfy your points, Councillor Brown?
I think the chances of my points being satisfied tonight are extremely remote. The 25 million saving was a figure that was quoted by leaders in the, at least one leader in the Yorkshire Post, and I accept this as part of a separate process. This is virtually my only opportunity to speak to a serious change in this council's arrangement. We've all sat here and just talked about you only having your name on the board for 2 years. This is our opportunity to speak to it. So please excuse me, Paul, I do realise we're dealing with 2 different documents and 2 different processes, but it's the only chance really to get my point of view across about how bizarre I think it is that we're discussing this in the middle of a pandemic.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brown. We're now going to go to Councillor Soloway, and then after Councillor Soloway, there'll be Councillor Wheeler, there'll be Councillor Myers, and then it'll be Councillor Foster, because he took down his indication to speak and then he's put it back on again. So Councillor Soloway, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations to your elevation as Chair.
Thank you.
The question I asked is basically simply to do with figures, huge figures. One which says £2.4 billion, and further down in the document the figure is £2.14 billion, and I just want some clarification because the discrepancy between that is a huge amount of money. You can guarantee that any government will obviously go for the lower sum that you put into your bid. So I'm just asking, is it 2.4 billion or is it 2.14 billion? The note that I would like to just add to it is that I read through the report and went through each of the page numbers even before I actually came to a mention of Craven, and it's on page 80. And it mentions Skipton and Cross Hills on page 89. But what I'd just like a clarification is of those 2 figures. Is it 2.4 billion or is it 2.14 billion?
Thank you. Does Mr. Shefflin want to come back on that, or should I go to Councillor Wheeler? Councillor Wheeler, sorry, Mr. Shefflin. No, Councillor Wheeler. No.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, having read through it, it's a bit like my tax bill. I knew it was coming. I wasn't really looking forward to it, but we're going to try and make the best of it. I appreciate it's an aspirational document, and there's clearly been a lot of effort into it. But whilst the overall theme is about the betterment of the area, I come away from reading it feeling that it is rather kind of urban centric. And there seems to be a bias towards the urban nature of it. And I appreciate York, 25% of the population. But in terms of funding and specific funding, it does rather well. And I pulled out maybe 3 or 4 bits of the report. Public transport funding, for example, a lot in urban areas, very little funding for rural areas, and whatever funding there is in the last phase as opposed to the first phase. And whilst there are specific figures quoted, it all seems a bit vague in phase 2 for some of the rural public transport funding. And when they talk about local needs in terms of jobs and housing, what I'd like some clarification on is this local needs the local needs that we have now, or is this the local needs for the aspirational new higher paid sector that's going to seemingly replace our low productivity sector that it talks about? And, you know, are we going to witness a London East End Docklands clearing out of the established population to make way for the new higher earners in terms of housing and job opportunities? Same as the acknowledgement of infrastructure. I notice it does mention in Skipton about the infrastructure, but of course we all know there's so much more to Craven than just Skipton. And I don't see too much in terms of infrastructure outside of the Skipton area. Looking at the towns and cities, the 420 million that is bandied around. I mean, phase 1, there's 60 schemes, of which there's only 6 in Craven, and of that 4 in Skipton. And again, I was hoping that there'd be something a little bit wider in terms of our aspirations for the towns and cities investment. And a question on page 56 of the report, it talks about Section 106 money. And I'm wondering, is that from specific sites to fund other projects? Because it talks about, and bear with me, page 56 up. There. Yeah, free up public subsidy in the form of local authority Section 106 monies for use on other additional local affordable housing projects. So ideally, what's the definition of local? So are we moving the 106 money out of the district, or is local meaning genuinely local, as in our district? I mean, there's a lot to consider, and there's going to be, Paul rightly mentioned, we haven't even touched on the what form of local authority we're going to get. So we don't know, is it going to be a whole new radical rethink, which would be great, or are we going for the cheap and cheerful, ready to go kind of Yorkshire and North Yorkshire Dark Empire option that seems ready to go? And I'm sure some of our dual-hatted members will have a view on that. Yes, it is inevitable, and the change is coming and the challenge is coming, but I do believe that I think Richard as leader will fight our corner long and hard. So, I'm backing Richard to back Craven and get the best deal. I just hope the odds aren't stacked against him when it comes to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Thank you. I've got now Councillor Myers, followed by Councillor Foster, who I think is probably going to sum up. And then I'm going to ask that the question is put. Councillor Myers, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on your elevation. I know you will do us proud. Just two short things, really. The 25 million pounds of savings that Councillor Brown was referring to, I think is the 45 million pounds in savings that the leader of North Yorkshire County Council believes would be occasioned by the abolition of the district councils. So that's one of their selling points, a non-district model for a combined or unitary authority. And again, really perhaps his desire to speak as to that subject. We all thinking long and hard about it and how we get the best for Craven out of it. And certainly the leader, chief executive, myself and many others are involved in trying to find a solution that does look after our district and our residents, keeps local democracy alive. So that's perhaps all I need to say. But I think that is the saving figure, Councillor Brown. It's 45. They haven't told us what would be occasioned by way of a saving. We got rid of Yorkshire County Council, and it's highly paid, but it's in the full time. And the only other thing, as far as Councillor Wheeler is concerned, yes, I think you can rely on us all to fight hard. Craven. This is a bit of a starting pistol in what is going to be a long negotiation. But we will definitely fight for the and get much investment we can. Historically, we punched way above our weight, and we're not keen to let that situation, whatever form the future holds for us. I'm sure the whole council is and find the to look after our patch.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. I've got Councillor Foster, but I've also got a sneaky hand from Councillor Welsh. Councillor Foster, are you going to sum up, or can I bring Councillor Welsh in? Councillor Welsh, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It's something in the water. I must say I've actually found myself agreeing with one or two things that Councillor Brown says. Not for a long time, but anyway. My point's quite simple. I think we're all looking at it from the wrong angles. And I've always said that governments only change things if it's going to save some money. Now, a lot of people are getting excited. We're going to get this, we're going to get that, we're going to get the other. Is that the whole reason, or is there something more to it? Maybe I'm just being over cynical as I'm getting older, but I think, how are we going to be better off? Where's the money going to come from, etc., etc. And I repeat myself, government only does things when they're going to save money. But going back to the COVID-19 debts that this country and government has actually been throwing at it, I mean, it's going to get 10 years to recover. And I always said, going back to 2008 or the last financial crash, that, you know, we've had 10 years of austerity. That's going to pale into insignificance when you look at the money that's been thrown at this current pandemic. So are we going to be any better off? So on that 2 points, the government only changes things when it's going to save money. And where are we going to get the money from? Because we're going to be repaying billions for the next 10 years. Now, I admire one or two people's enthusiasm and accepting reports as it comes out from government and everywhere else. Personally, I'm being cynical, and I think it's not going to be beneficial at all. And especially in the rural areas that we're going to suffer more than the big towns. But maybe just that's me with a cynical point of view, but I will stick with it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Foster, are you going to sum up and then we'll go to the vote?
Just before I do, can somebody work out which figure's right in the report 2.41 with Councillor Soloway? It requires a reply on that, so if somebody can come in. Paul, Javelin, if you... All right.
My understanding is it's the 2.4 figure. It's the one in the summary at the top, which is erroneous. However, I will double check that with James Farrer, and if there's any change to that, I'll write to all members. My understanding, though, is it's the 2.4.
Sorry, Chair. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Just summing up, really. Unfortunately, we've got to take these separately. It'd be great to bring them both together. Members are going to get a chance to see potential options for local government reorganisation. As soon as we get some stuff available, I want to share it with all of you. So I want comments, views, terms. that was what the KPMG money was that we put through policy the other night, was to pull some things forward on that. So please be aware, you are going to have a chance to have your shout and your ball on that. Whether that'll go anywhere with central government, I don't know. But looking at this tonight, yeah, I'd like to see Craven mentioned more in it. I'd like it just to be, in a way, I half thought we'd just get a Craven report, if you know what I mean, which is what Devolution's going to do for Craven. But it is part of the full North Yorkshire thing. So, you know, at the end of the day, is it worth the mayor? I suppose is the question. Councillor Welch's cynicism, yeah, I get it, but this government particularly is saying it's only going to deal with mayors. So if you're out of that picture, even through an austerity, you're going to be in a worse situation than being in the club of having a mayor going through another period of austerity. It's a horrible fact, but I do think we need to take that on board. I just think it's a good report. It's been worked up. Like I say, it's going to be fine-tuned between now and the government, and we'll keep bringing iterations of this back to you. Things like Skipton Cone is well and truly in there. It's a bigger picture than a devolution document because it's transport for the north, and that sort of sits above this. So it's not that it isn't there. It's not that we aren't still shouting for it. It's not that it's gone away. Along with the fact that the Ellyfield railway line and making sure that's used, you know, these are all things that are in there, and we're going to keep shouting at least until while Craven's still here. So on that note, I've sort of finished my summing up. But it's a pretty good devolution deal. It's a pretty strong one in comparison to other areas and other places, and the amounts are comparable. Whether that money is actually there, whether it comes from different pots in the end or wherever, but without this, that money will go out of other pots and won't come to Craven. So I think we've got to be very careful of that. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Councillor Foster, thank you very much. Guy, are we going to do a roll call of members in favour and against?
Yeah, I mean, the recommendation in the report does refer to the fact that we need to approve submission of the proposal. So I think in respect of that, we do really need to take a roll call of members present. So it's been moved by Councillor Foster. The recommendations have been moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Myers. So I'll take a roll call for, against, or abstain, please. So Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
Abstain.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbrun.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton. Just have a look at what Councillor. For. Thank you, Councillor Ireton. Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
Abstain.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
Abstain.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Welsh.
Against.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Okay, that is carried. All those in favour. There was 1 against and 3 abstentions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That nicely moves us on to item number 6, which is recommendations for confirmation. Members, we have minutes of standards, order and good governance, and policy committee for confirmation. Once of these have been moved and seconded, I will ask members if they wish to debate each minute in turn, and if there is no debate, we'll move to the vote on that particular minute. Councillor Ireton, could you please move your recommendations of the Standards Committee meeting on the 11th of March 2020, as set out in the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I move the recommendations, I would just like to remind members that this is an important protocol which governs the relationship between members and officers. All members were consulted during the review, and if approved tonight, I shall ask the monitoring officer to send a copy of the protocol to all councillors. I move the recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ireton. Have we got a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Councillor Metcalfe.
There is no members indicating to speak or debate the motion. So can I have a show of hands, please?
Councillor Harbron, I'm sorry to have to do this. As these are recommendations for confirmation, just for the record, it is a public meeting. We do need to take a roll call again.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Harbron. So there were no members indicating that they wish to speak. So again, so for minute 371, if members could indicate whether they're for, against, or whether they wish to abstain, please. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbron.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For.
Councillor Pighills. No, sorry, Councillor Pighills has given his apologies. Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Welsh.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Thank you. That is unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Guy. Thank you. It was worth a try. Anyway. Right, that moves us on to Councillor Hull. Would you please move your recommendations of the Audit and Governance Committee meeting held on the 29th of June 2020 as set out in the report?
Right, thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to move these recommendations to Council this evening for this well-researched and very authoritative updating of the recommendations. I therefore move the recommendations as set out in the report. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hull. Do we have a seconder anywhere?
Second, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Place. Right, does any member wish to debate AC 380, review of the procurement policies and procedures? There is got Councillor Brown as indicated. Councillor Brown, up to you.
Much shorter intervention this time, you'll appreciate. Basically, I agree with it. I'm going to vote for it, a sensible thing to do. But if we're extending the discretion, we need to be extremely careful about how we procure consultancy. And I think we need a much more careful record of what amounts of money have gone on what consultants and for what reason, and a much more careful monitoring of that. So I'll be asking the leader a question about that under general question time, but I shall vote for this.
Thank you very much. And in the absence of anybody else, Guy, could you take us through the roll call, please?
Yes, thank you very much. So it's been moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Place. So again, if members could indicate whether for, against, or abstain. Councillor Barrett.
4.
Councillor Brockbank,
4.
Councillor Brown,
4.
Councillor Foster,
4.
Councillor Hanley,
4.
Councillor Harbrun,
4.
Councillor Heseltine,
4.
Councillor Hull,
4.
Councillor Ireton,
4.
Councillor Jackwin,
4.
Councillor Liz,
4.
Councillor Madeley, the Councillor Madeley is still present.
Mm.
Doesn't appear to be with us at the moment, so I will come back to Councillor Madeley. Councillor Metcalfe,
4.
Councillor Morby,
4.
Councillor Morell,
4.
Councillor Mulligan,
4.
Councillor Myers,
4.
Councillor Noland,
4.
Councillor Place,
4.
Councillor Pringle,
4.
Councillor Rose,
4.
Councillor Shuttleworth,
4.
Councillor Soloway,
4.
Councillor Staveley,
4.
Councillor Sutcliffe,
4.
Councillor Welsh,
4.
Councillor Wheeler,
4.
Councillor Whitaker.
4.
Just check to see if Councillor Madeley's back with us. No, I'll get to assume Councillor Madeley's left the meeting. Right, okay, that's with the exception of Councillor Madeley, doesn't appear to be present at the meeting. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guy. Thank you. Right, that moves us on to Councillor Foster. Could you please move the recommendations of the policy meeting held on the 28th of July as set out in the report?
Move them, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder, anyone?
Seconded.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. Does anybody wish to debate policy 1070? Welcome to Yorkshire, a request for emergency funding. I've got Councillor Mulligan, Councillor Shuttleworth, and then I've got Councillor Soloway. In that order, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'd like to join in congratulating you on your new role, and I know you're going to be a great representative for Creighton.
Thank you.
Yeah, I welcome this contribution to Welcome Yorkshire. I know that there has been some controversy about that organization in the past year or so, but I think it's been effectively reborn. It has an entirely new board, and I think that we need to give it a second chance. There is no other sort of organization that will be promoting tourism across the county at present, and if we don't support this with this contribution, we can use this to see how they do for a year with their new cast. And I do think coming out of COVID-19 is utterly vital. Tourism is one of the biggest parts of our economy, and we need to give this organization a second chance because there is no alternative. So I do support this contribution, and I hope other councillors will as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Shuttleworth.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. There will be some members, including myself, who will remember the period immediately following the Second World War, when Britain dragged itself out of austerity and into the emerging prosperity of the 1960s and 70s. This was a period when the true spirit of Yorkshire grit and determination made itself known in order to build something out of the ruins of the way life had become in the legacy of war. In relation to local tourism, I remember that period clearly. The emergence of ham and egg farmhouse teas offered by enterprising farmers' wives, and where the land allowed, camping and caravan sites popped up to accommodate holidaymakers in need of a rural break in scenic country away from the toil of the factory or mine. This latter aspect quickly grew to require the enactment of the Caravan Sites and Control of Development Act 1960 in recognition of the need to control and regularise holiday usage in particular. So much had this nature of tourism holidays developed. Subsequently, While holidays abroad were becoming the norm to an increasingly affluent society, so did the ownership of the motor car and ease of access to the countryside to meet the convenience of personal choice and increased leisure time. And with it, the demand for back to nature and other local holidays to emerge and grow, including the bed and breakfast enterprises, which are now a common feature of several Dales villages and farmhouses in the Dales. Camping barns also appeared for the more hardy holidaymaker, primarily as intermediate overnight stops for long-distance hikers without the need for heavy backpacking. Again, these arising from the enterprise of local residents, primarily being the farming community. Agricultural and other country shows also featured annually in the rural calendar and attracted increasingly large numbers of the urban population to see the countryside and its activities at close quarters. Rural hostelries increasingly offered meals and overnight accommodation by changing from the traditional rural workers' thirst-quenching boozer by recognising and capitalising on the steady growth in numbers of holiday visitors. The estates saw the opportunities to generate income from wide-ranging public entertainment and similar events, together with filming and TV venues. The Tempest family at Broughton Hall being a prime local example. With typical Yorkshire opportunism, local communities eagerly saw the possibilities of generating income from outside sources to support a range of causes, including reinvestment into community improvement schemes. Chairman, I could go on, but I'm sure all members will recognise what I'm saying. All the above and more was achieved considerably before the idea of Welcome to Yorkshire was even conceived. In the latter part of the 20th century, the level of rural tourism grew and grew and started to generate local problems of congestion and overspill at traditional holiday times, which by now were becoming extended over a greater part of the annual calendar. Local enterprise and fortitude when things didn't work out, and dogged determination to progress and prosper took the rural community of Yorkshire from the war to the early years of the 21st century. Holidays and rural events further increased, and some local communities were starting to suffer more frequent and unrelenting heavy visitor pressure, creating local transport difficulties and hindering other essential service operations. Then, 2012, the London Olympics inspired a certain now discredited head of a relatively new face to the tourism industry, titled Welcome to Yorkshire. He negotiated the start of the principal cycle race in the world, that is the Tour de France, to be held in Yorkshire, Le Grand Départ, and which projected Yorkshire prominently onto the global map by virtue of television and other media activity. The publicity generated was intense, as was the associated level of related visitor pressure, and which remains to this day, particularly including the hordes of colourful lycra-clad individuals endeavouring to emulate the energy-sapping exploits of their professional idols, and imperiling their lives into the bargain. Subsequently, there was spawned the annual Tour de Yorkshire, annual apart from this year, unfortunately, due to the current virus epidemic. Again, local enterprises endeavoured to cope and capitalise on the further increases in visitor pressure so generated. But the seams are starting to split and burst in some areas of popularity. Communities are suffering more and more due to traffic congestion. Local services and facilities are swamped. The services of an already overstretched police force are now being required to restore control in some areas, and the tranquility of attractive parts of rural Yorkshire are being destroyed. Visitor pressure is increasingly interfering with a range of functions and activities which make rural Yorkshire what it is, day-to-day farming work, forestry, moorland management. How else does the vibrant colour of a heather moor return year upon year in late summer and early autumn? All contribute in a major way to the natural attractiveness of the county. But how often do we learn of thoughtless, selfish, ignorant individuals or groups of the same categories, which some might well describe as the booze and barbecue brigade, blocking field gateways, damaging dry stone walls, arrogantly indulging in the right to roam on protected, cultivated land, blocking narrow country lanes for farm machinery and other essential vehicle access, such as milk tankers and feed deliveries, causing, accidentally or otherwise, moorland fires, and interfering with rural water supplies for stock and farmsteads alike, and the increasing problem of litter. The list goes on and on. So, Chairman, why on earth are we being recommended to fund a financially ailing agency which hasn't published its accounts for the last 2 years, but which has the objective of further increasing visitor pressure and claims to propose to offer support to businesses and visitors alike, that Yorkshire tourism is COVID secure? Chairman, if that's the case, then I might suggest the directors are welcome to Yorkshire hot-foot it down to Westminster, advise Mr. Johnson, Matt Hancock and their teams of medical and other scientific advisors that they hold the key to a problem which, in reality, will never disappear until a compulsory 100% effective vaccination programme is effected. It's a simple fact that it is impossible to achieve a sterile environment in today's world other than in artificial laboratory conditions. Risk will always prevail. How long will it take to achieve a COVID secure Yorkshire, if at all, is a matter of pure speculation or of wishful thinking. Chairman, you've been very tolerant of allowing me to speak for so long, so I shall content myself with coming to the nub of my message. Welcome to Yorkshire is a spent force. It's past its sell-by date. Its beneficial effect on local communities and economy is now over. And in the same manner as a fluid, supersaturated solution, that's for those members who can recall their school day chemistry, can suddenly change back into a solid, unmanageable mass by the addition of one single seed crystal. Tourism in the county is on the brink of stagnation and self-destruction if an ever-increasing level of pressure is to be pursued. Chairman, local communities have had enough. How many members can genuinely say they've received messages of support in relation to the proposal we are now considering? Local infrastructures are inadequate to accommodate greater levels of visitors, and in several cases cannot cope with present peak numbers. I was re-elected to this council last year on the basis of pledging support to Craven, its communities, the countryside, and by using common sense. Consequently, I have no option but to oppose the proposal now before us and urge rejection by all members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shuttleworth. Thank you. I've now got Councillor Soloway, Councillor Foster and Councillor Brown in that order. Councillor Soloway, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be fairly brief. I have a similar viewpoint in some ways, but I've noticed that Yorkshire has had very little difficulty marketing itself. In fact, what kicked off Yorkshire being able to market itself was Boris allowing unlimited travel, and Yorkshire was inundated that weekend because we knew that the national parks had opened their car parks. And since then, Yorkshire's had no difficulty in attracting visitors from hundreds of miles away. I'd also like to mention that I did a quick search on booking.com today for accommodation in Yorkshire, holiday homes, and they're virtually all booked up in all kinds of places that you would actually not even imagine holiday homes would be in. So just doing a very quick search, that Yorkshire seems to be marketing itself very well. And one thing I've noticed, that everybody knows that I ride a bike, I cycle out in the Yorkshire Dales quite a lot. I've noticed a lot more people out on bikes and families and stuff. Usually each year, people either thank or blame that, depending on their viewpoint of cyclists, on the Tour de Yorkshire and how many bike races we have coming through. Well, we had no cycle race coming through in Craven, and yet there were lots of people out on their bikes. It's clearing the bike shops out of bikes. You can't buy a bike for no money at the moment, but it's nothing to do with the Tour de Yorkshire. It's to do with having quieter roads. It was to do with having that kind of, that was the one freedom that a lot of people had. I'm of the opinion that we shouldn't really fund Welcome to Yorkshire. I keep calling him Yorkshire Forward because that's what I remember him being. I'm not in favour of funding him this year. I will be voting against this. I think Yorkshire's done a very good job of attracting people to its district at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Soloway. Thank you very much for your thoughts. I'm going to move on now to Councillor Foster, please. Thank you.
Permission to come in at the end, Chair, and sum up.
Sorry.
Coming in at the end, Chair, and sum up. It's a report.
Okay, Councillor Foster, no problem. I understand that. Councillor Brown, and that is the last person other than Councillor Foster that will speak.
Just very quickly, if I was thinking short term, then I think I would agree with Councillor Shuttleworth and Councillor Soloway. You could make a very good argument for saying the Dales is full, Yorkshire is full, there's so many people coming because of COVID, and we're nervous about those people coming, and some of the behaviours we've seen at the extremes have been unpleasant. Equally, some of the behaviours we've seen from tourists have been impeccable, and they've brought a lot of money into the area. We are about to look at probably 4 or 5 million unemployed, some of the points that Councillor Welsh was making about a long-term recession. Our economy is going to need tourism. This organisation, I think, did well on its initial stunt around the Tour de France. It got us better publicity than we'd ever have gotten. That's had an impact from years of people having seen the sunshine and the Dales and got that image in their minds. Okay, it's been a shambles for the last 2 years, but I cannot believe we're not going to gain long-term from having a tourism organisation speaking up for this district, so I shall vote for it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brown. We've just got another person indicated to speak. It's Councillor Welsh, and then we'll try and move on to Councillor Foster. Councillor Welsh, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It's quite interesting, actually. A few of the speakers I've heard so far don't actually live in tourist areas that rely very heavily on tourism. But however, as members will know, the policy committee, when it was first discussed, representing an area where I've been in discussions with the National Park through a code of conduct for Three Peaks walkers, you name it, everything else, because of what is classed as over tourism. Hopefully that will sort it out, but we've got to realise that over the last 6 or 7 months, the whole Craven area has been inundated with tourism. A lot of it has been to do with furloughed staff who have nothing else to do except come out into the countryside on a nice day. Yes, I accept 53 bags of rubbish over 1 weekend at Stainforth Foss was not exactly suitable, picked up by volunteers. And don't get me going on motorcyclists and everything else, but at the end of the day, it is all part of the tourism trade. The only thing, just as a point of information for Councillor Shuttleworth, it was quite interesting to listen to his post-war memories. Just a point of information that you may remember Vera Lynn and singing, keeping the whole country alive, but it was not actually Vera Lynn, was not a proper name, it was Vera Margaret Welsh. And on that, I'll leave it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Foster, are you able to sum up then in that case? Very much.
Yeah, I think we, as Councillor Brown says, we can get confused between what has been the after effects of coronavirus and the easing of lockdown. in comparison to what is the tourism industry. There's actually a lot of different tourists wandering around in the Yorkshire Dales at the moment. Quite a lot don't spend. A lot of the businesses are still struggling. They're on a short season this year, and yes, places might be booked up, but there will still be the competition next year for when eventually, hopefully, the foreign holidays are back open again. It's a case of this is an organisation that's there. Businesses are not confident they're going to survive the winter while they're having a bit of a bean feast at the moment. We need to extend that season. I think these are things that Welcome to Yorkshire can do and can help us with. Yep, it's organisation with a checkered past, should we say, but I do think that we need to support it at the moment. It's very much a different organisation now, and I will hope that members support this report. We get that money out there, because if we were to turn around to any of our tourism businesses at the moment and say, look, the one thing out there that supports them when they've just been through missing Easter, half terms, all those sort of things, that we've decided we're not going to fund anymore and we're going to watch it shut it down. I think a lot of those businesses would turn around and look at us and go, thank you very much for your support, as they go bust over winter because they didn't make enough and the furloughing scheme ends and everything else. So it's a bit on your heads, be it, but I would rather members see this through. We'll support it for one more year, see if it can deliver that extra funding later on in the year, extend the tourism season for those businesses and get them through the winter, and then we can have a look next year, and if it's exactly the same, we can decide, no, sorry, this business hasn't done what it's done, but £25,000 compared with what tourism industry brings into Craven and the rural areas of Craven, I think to me would be a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. So in that case, Guy, is it time for the roll call?
It is, yes. It's so the recommendations have already been moved and seconded. So I'll do the roll call. If you could indicate whether you're for, against, or abstain, or you wish to abstain. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Handley.
For.
Councillor Harbron.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
Reluctantly for, but no more.
Sorry, Councillor, is that for?
I said reluctantly for, but no more.
Okay. Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
I think Councillor Madeley has left the meeting. He has. Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
Abstain, please.
Abstain. Councillor Rose.
Abstain, thank you.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
Against.
Councillor Soloway.
Against.
Against. Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
No.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Doesn't look like it.
It's muted, I think.
Councillor Sutcliffe, do you want to, I'll just give you a moment just to unmute yourself.
Unmute him.
I'll come back to you, Councillor Sutcliffe. If you ever go keep trying to unmute yourself, I'll come back to you. Councillor Welsh.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker.
4.
4. Okay. Just Councillor Sutcliffe, who doesn't appear to be present at the moment. We'll just give him a chance to unmute himself.
Right, at the end of that, I am now unmuted, and so I will abstain. Thank you.
You will abstain. Okay, thank you. Right, thank you, members. So that is carried. There were 3 abstentions and there were 2 against, but everyone else in attendance voted for the motion, so that is carried. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Guy. Thank you. That moves us on to POL 1071. Does any member wish to debate policy 1071, decarbonising Skipton, green future for public buildings and the Greatwood Estate? Okay, Councillor Liss.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As lead member, we had a long debate, and I know Councillor Brown found it difficult to understand why the government were talking about devolution at this time when we had the COVID crisis. I'm just pleased to be able to say that this council will still stick to its promise, its commitment to be carbon neutral for the future, and this is a big part of that. And I'm just so pleased to see the council moving forward like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Liss. Right. Okay, now has it been moved and seconded?
Well, I shall certainly move it, Chairman. I'm sorry, I should have done then. Sorry.
No, it's no problem. No problem. I've got a second, members.
Happy to second it, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Solway. Thank you. And I've got nobody else indicating to speak, so Guy, it's time for to go to the roll call again. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. If you could indicate, members, whether you're for, against, or you wish to abstain the recommendation for this one, policy 1071. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
Pleased to vote for.
Councillor Foster.
Likewise for.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbrun.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Welsh. Don't think Councillor Welsh is with us at the moment. Might just come back to Councillor Welsh. Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker.
For.
You just do one last check to see if Councillor Welsh is present. I don't think he is. I think he may have left the meeting. Right, with the exception of Councillor Welsh, that would have been unanimous. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Guy. Thank you. Right, that moves us on to POL 1072. Does any member wish to debate POL 1072, support for settled swimming pool? I'm a bit of a tongue twister. There's Councillor Mulligan indicated to speak. Councillor Mulligan.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to point out, as a result of the policy meeting in recommendation 4, that that is an amendment in that recommendation. And the reason we amended it was because the business plan that had been presented to us in support of the contribution, it's a very large contribution, £265,000 of a capital contribution. And the business case, I thought was, and this is in my role as the lead member for financial resilience, the business plan seemed to me to be outdated and flawed. And it's outdated because it was put forward, it was created before the COVID-19 struck, and it needs to be completely revised as far as I'm concerned. And so we added an amendment that there would be, regarding the business plan, that would have to be confirmation from the chief financial officer in consultation with the lead member for Resilient Communities, lead member for financial resilience. And I think that was a very good amendment to this proposal. So whilst I hope, and I really do, I think it would be great for Settle to get a swimming pool or get a new swimming pool. I do think that's a substantial contribution that's being asked, and I do want this to be a watertight business plan. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Are you wanting to propose it there, Councillor Mulligan?
Chairman.
No,
yes.
no, I think.
Yeah.
Councillor Harrington might.
I've been looking for my hand and I can't find it on this
I'm sorry. Yes, go on.
screen. Yes, I'd like to move the recommendation. I do hope members can support this. It is a vital part of that North Craven facilities for fitness, mental health, etc. Councillor Mulligan has pointed out the extra precaution that the council's taking. So with that, I would like to move the recommendation and hope members feel they can support it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Iton. Have we got a second in anybody?
I'll second it.
Sorry, Councillor Myers, I've got you to speak, but yeah, if you want to second it, is that what you're?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Okay, Guy, I think it's roll call time again.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harborough. So just to confirm, that amendment that Councillor Mulligan has referred to is included in the pack that was sent out to members, and it does feature in the minutes. So members could indicate whether they're for, against, or wish to abstain. So Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harborough.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For. Thank you.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Welsh. Let me just check. He's not rejoined the meeting. No, he hasn't. So Councillor Welsh is absent. Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Thank you, members. So that's unanimous, Chairman. Thank you very much, Guy. Thank you. That brings us on to POL 1073. Does any member wish to debate policy 1073, update of Skipton Town Hall redevelopment? I'm assuming that this has already been proposed and seconded because I've got nothing here to say otherwise. Moving to the vote then in that case, Guy?
Yes, it's been moved by the recommendations of the policy committee have been moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
Councillor
Yes.
Myers. So for the item in relation to update on Skipton Town Hall redevelopment, you can indicate whether you're for, against, or abstain. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hatley.
For.
Councillor Hartman.
For.
Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Holt.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley. Sorry, Councillor Madeley is not present at the meeting anymore. Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Welsh. Sorry, Councillor Welsh has left the meeting. Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Thank you, members. That's unanimous. That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guy. Thank you very much. Now that brings us on to item number 7, summary of decisions taken by the Chief Officer, Chief Executive during the COVID-19 scenario. Thank you very much. The report to the Solicitor of the Council is attached. Councillor Foster, do you wish to move the recommendations contained in the report? And is there a seconder?
Move, Chair.
I'll second it, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. Ms Moppet, do you wish to add anything to the report?
Nothing to add, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Foster, do you wish to speak on the report?
Just to say, the Chief Exec consulted certainly with myself on all these, and probably the Deputy at least, if not the lead members as well, where it affected theirs. So these weren't taken in isolation by him at any stage. So just so you're aware.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. Thank you. In that case, does any other member wish to debate the report? There's no indication of wanting to speak, so I'll move to the vote. Did we get a seconder? We did. We got a seconder. Right, Guy. I think it's a roll call time.
Yes, I think. I'll just ask Annette, but I think we're probably okay just to go with sort of general consensus on this one. We don't need to take a roll call.
Okay.
Of all members present. Can I just check with Annette that is the case?
Of course.
Yes, I agree, Guy. The report's just a note, so that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. In that case, the report is considered as been noted. Thank you very much. Item number 8, we've got a statement from the leader of the council, perhaps. Councillor Foster, do you wish to make a statement?
Councillor Shuttleworth stole my thunder a bit. I was going to do a history of tourism within the Yorkshire Dales, but that's gone now. No, on a more serious, well, one serious note from tonight, we must find a way of getting an electronic voting system. Going through a roll call all the time is just, in the modern era, I'm sure there's some tech out there that we could find that we could use to do it. Secondly, coronavirus, it's been a massive issue. I think the council stood up to it really well. I think the people of Craven have stood up to it really well. I think the volunteers have stood up to it really well. And I also think as members across the piece, people have stood up to it well. We've got, there's been fantastic work done. I mean, most people ringing the council wouldn't realise they were ringing somebody who sat at home. It's a big thanks out to the officers, like I say, members, also the volunteers and the general public have been fantastic. Moving on, just something to catch up on that was asked earlier by Councillor Brown was how much time we're spending on the local government reorganisation. It was never actually replied to, I don't think that was. Considerable, I think would be the word. Is it a good time to be doing it? I would never have wanted to do local re-government organisation. I was quite happy as we were, but I do appreciate there are times to change. Now being the appropriate time, it is now. The county council is going to put a bid in, and if we don't do something in reply, then that bid will probably carry. That's where we're at. As far as officer time goes, it's basically myself, the chief executive, Paul Ellis, and we're using a bit of the press team, Jenny Cornish as well. I'm not tackling this one on my own. I've sort of instigated Simon into this one as well. So we're doing a bit of a team effort on this. Because it is, I don't care how much time it takes, it is hugely important that we get this right for the democracy of the people of Craven. And if we don't, you know, it's not about the district council, it's not about district councillors. This is about that democratic mandate of the people of Craven and making sure that their voice is heard in whatever this new organisation ends up being. But like I say, we'll be back to consult on potential models and stuff like that as soon as possible. So on that note, the leader of the council will shut up, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. There's nobody whatsoever, you'll be pleased to know, has indicated they want to speak. So I'm going to take that as I can move on. Therefore, we will move on. Item number 9. Statements from lead members and committee chairmen. Does any lead member wish to make a statement? Okay, I've got Councillor Myers, then Councillor Brockbank, and then I've got Councillor Mulligan. In that order, please. And I've noticed Councillor Jackson intends to speak as well, but he's not put his button on. But I got it.
Sorry, thanks.
No problem.
Thank you, Chairman, members. Very briefly, because I too enjoyed Councillor Shuttle's trip back to the land of my birth. We have, during COVID, of course, continued with the business of the council, and greatly to the credit of members and officers. We haven't given up on the ambitious plans we have, neither because of what nature has thrown at us in the form of COVID-19, nor because of what government is throwing at us with the imminent threat of our dissolution. So during the pandemic, officers and members interviewed consultants and architects for the Skipton Master Plan, the revitalisation of the area from Broughton Road to the High Street. And I'm very pleased to say that we had very fruitful meetings, and in the end, Allies and Morrisons have been appointed. It's a very exciting project. It will involve a lot of member input and with many, many stakeholders. Most importantly, of course, with the residents of Craven. So it's very exciting to be able to. I could go back and tell you all about that area and how Bonnie Dewhurst built his mill in the 1840s, and how as a child I woke to the sound of the mill hooter. But times have moved on, and we must move on with them. And those sources of employment aren't available now, and we have. But it's a very exciting project, members, and I'm sure it'll get involved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. Can I just ask, is either Councillor Liss or Councillor Jacquin wanting to respond to Councillor Myers, or are you just in general?
I just wanted to say a few words, just a word as lead member for Green and Craven, that was all.
All right, I'll come back to you when the time's right. Councillor Jacquin, did you want to? You were on mute, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I realise that now. I'd like to address a question to the lead member for housing, please.
Okay, and remind me, who might that be?
Councillor Foster.
Okay, well, okay, that's no problem.
Thank you.
Councillor Brockbank.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's really my last report as lead member. I'm moving on to chair of planning, and Councillor Metcalfe is taking over from me, and I wish her every success. I want to thank all the officers who've been very supportive of me whilst I've been this lead member, and I thoroughly enjoyed working with them. However, it's time to move on. So my last report really is a very short one, and it's to say that, that 19 out of the 30 councillors have now transferred over from their iPads to the laptops. The new equipment has been very well received, and the remaining councillors, you all know who you are, will be transferring to laptops over the next few weeks. So that's been a very successful project, and I'd like to thank IT for all the help in that and all the work they've done. They've done a really, really good job.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brockbank. Is there anybody? There's nobody indicating to speak with regards to Councillor Brockbank. So I'm going to go to Councillor. I haven't forgotten you, Councillor Jacquin. Don't forget. Councillor Mulligan, Councillor Liss, and then I'll come to Councillor Jacquin at the end. Okay, Councillor Mulligan, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to give members an update on council finances. I believe Councillor Shuttleworth had written in advance of this meeting to Richard Way about what this situation was, and I just thought, I know Councillor Shuttleworth has been provided with an answer, but I thought I would highlight some of the areas in that answer for the benefit of all members. And so I think there's three areas that we're sort of focused on at the moment. The first is income losses. And so with our sales fees and charges, we're estimating maybe down by 40% compared to the budgeted amounts. That would amount to a £2.8 million loss. It will depend on performance through the rest of the year. But based on our understanding of the latest government support for lost income from the sales fees and charges, the loss to the council could be between 700,000 and £1 million. The second area is the collection fund, and this is where council tax and business rates billed are technically still due and should be collected. However, the collection rates are expected to reduce throughout the year as the financial impacts of the COVID response on businesses and individuals take hold. It's very difficult to predict, but taking into account collection rates so far, the losses compared to budget across maybe approximately £700,000. Some of this could be taken through the collection fund over several years. So, and then the third area revolves around government grants. We've so far been awarded £668,000. This we use to fund a range of things such as additional costs of waste provision to provide safe collection, additional cleaning and protective equipment, ICT costs, community grants, and an allowance for income related to savings not being achieved has been planned this year. So I would expect our additional costs to be contained within the grant funding provided. So this is actually, believe it or not, a better forecast than the previously reported figure, which was up to £4 million. It's now more likely to be in the range of between 1.7 and £2 million, with some of that to be written off over 3 years rather than one. But this is still a very challenging position. We're in an evolving situation. You know, we don't know if there's going to be a second wave, etc. And we will be bringing a further update to policy at the September meeting. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mulligan. Looking around the room and on the people to speak, nobody wants to ask any questions of you. I'm going to go to Councillor Liss, and then Councillor Jacquin will ask his question of the housing portfolio holder. Councillor Liss.
Just very quickly, Chairman, thanks very much for letting me speak. It's not very often as a councillor that you get praise. What I would say is, as lead member for Green to Craven, part of my duties cover the waste collection service. This is the first opportunity I've had at a full council meeting to thank everybody involved, and that isn't just the waste collection personnel, it's people that have worked at the pool and things like that have helped out in the waste collection service during the COVID period. They've done an absolutely fantastic job, And that job, I'm pleased to say, has been recognised by an amazing amount of emails that I've had from people showing their appreciation for all that you've done. So could my thanks, along with, I'm sure, with all the rest of the councillors, be passed on to everybody involved in that service. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Willis. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, indeed. I think it's quite inhumanous looking across all the various entourage images of everybody. That I think everybody agrees. Very good. Councillor Jackwin, you need to unmute. You need to unmute, mate.
Minute. Got you. Thank you. Me question to the lead member for housing, Richard. Have you been notified yet? Obviously not. So following.
I have.
Right. Okay. So following the 6th of July's District Council press release, which headlined a bumper year for new rural affordable homes. But the press release reported 370 homes completed in the last 12 months, but it included only 2 shared ownership homes in Craven. You were speaking on behalf of the regional housing providers, and you went on to say you were really encouraged by such a large number of new rural affordable homes. Well, I was a bit disappointed that only 2 had made it in Craven, but 345 were in Harrogate and smaller numbers in other districts within the county council. The district council are the local planning authority, the strategic housing authority, and a construction partner. And I'd like you to outline any positive actions by CDC to solve or at least alleviate the reported lack of affordable housing throughout Craven, please.
With pleasure, Councillor Jackwin. It's one of my many various roles that I think got lumbered into as leader of council, is being head of the Rural Housing Enabler, or chair of their board. So it's with that hat on that I did this. Actually, Craven that year completed 47 affordable homes, but unfortunately only 2 were in rural areas, and the rural area being empty. If anybody's been to Harrogate recently, you'll notice that places like Killinghall, which constitute being rural, even though they're now getting slowly linked into Harrogate, count as rural houses, and therefore fit under that umbrella. Yeah, disappointed we've only delivered 2 in rural Craven. They're not easy to build, especially within the national parks. I mean, we're finding that ourselves as we look to build our own, and trying to do them carbon neutrally and get the figures to balance up is not proving simple, to say the least. But that's for another debate and another day. So a bit of good news. We've so far we've delivered a total of 679 new homes in Craven. 254 have been affordable since 2015. But looking further forward into the future, if I can find my little briefing note that I've been given, we've got now under development 243 affordable homes are currently on site or are expected to be completed over the next 2 years, with more in the pipeline. So there is good news out there, and we need to keep moving forward with that. But yeah, it doesn't read well. I completely agree with you. But you often find these things come in cycles. Different areas develop at different times, and it just wasn't Craven's year for actually getting any over the completion line. So, all being well, Councillor Jackwin, we will start, and we will remedy that very, very shortly. And I'm watching it, believe me.
And if you're watching it, will you be willing to publish a press release to report those positive aspects, please?
Yep, I'm sure we can pull a press release together of housing developments in the pipeline that are affordable, because yeah, highly important.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackwin. Thank you very much indeed. Right, okay. I understand we're going to now go to the chairman of Select, which is Councillor Staveley. as you've got one or two things to add to the proceedings. Councillor Stebbing.
I'll keep it brief because I realise it's been a long meeting. I'll direct members to our annual report that we produced this year with the help of Guy. And that's been, I think it's highlighted a lot of good work that the committee's done, recommendations that have been made that have shown that we are prepared to be a critical friend of the council. Moving forward, we have obtained the opportunity to get a crime and disorder meeting on the 9th of September, I believe, at 6:30. I think Guy may confirm that. Obviously, we missed the last crime and disorder due to the COVID-19 situation, but we are looking to get that brought together because clearly there have been, even though the country has been in lockdown, the work of the police has gone on. So we would like to bring them in to help us understand what effect that's had on Craven. Other than that, I'll just leave it for any questions, members.
Thank you very much, Councillor Staveley. Thank you very much as always. Nobody's indicated to want to ask a question. Therefore, I think I'll take it as read that we can move on. And I'm going to move on to now item number 10, which is general question and statement time. Note that Council Procedure Rule 11.4 covers this item. I understand Councillor Brown has indicated to ask a question.
Sorry, Councillor, but just before we move on to that, can I just, we've just got two other aspects to the last item just to cover. So number C, chairman of other committees, and number D, council representatives on outside bodies. So if we could just ask if any members wish to
does any chairman of the other committees like to add anything to tonight's meeting? And I do apologise for missing you out. I just didn't see any hands up on the side of the screen, so I just assumed we could move on.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chairman.
That's okay, no problem. Anybody? Thank you very much. Right, in that case, Councillor Brown has indicated by a closing time of 12 o'clock that he wants to pose a question. Councillor Jack Brown.
I'll ask it quickly before closing time. The question I've got really concerns finances and also control of expenditure. We're spending, I suspect, increasing sums of money on consultancy and advice and legal advice, etc. I think we need to keep an eye on that and keep control of that and keep sight of that. So I'd be grateful, Leader, if you could arrange for us, I don't expect it tonight, to provide us with a report on how much we've spent on consultants and advisors over the last 3 years, so we can see the trend lines. And I want to see which departments have spent what amounts of money and what the process was for procuring those amounts.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Brown. Councillor Myers, are you coming in to answer that question?
No, I think I am.
Councillor?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Let Councillor Foster go, Mike.
Councillor Foster, and then I'll count Councillor Myers then. Okay, thank you.
Just to say, it's a big piece of work, so thank you for the question in advance, but we haven't had time to collect it. So yes, we'll get a written response on that, Councillor Brown. Thanks for that. And also, well done, Chair, well done on your election, and well done on your first meeting. It's been very difficult with all these roll call votes. So congratulations and well done.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you. Councillor Myers.
Yes, just, and I think it is important that the council has that information. Leaders promised, and the council. Of course, undoubtedly, because we have had some very big projects in Craven over the last few years, use of advisors will have gone up. But of course, these are all enterprises that have attracted substantial amounts of public funds from elsewhere. And believe you me, we have to account for every penny we spend. So, but they are within specific projects. It would be impossible to get the details. I'll second the thanks to you, Chairman, and thanks to our outgoing Chairman, Whitaker, for all his good sense over the.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. Thank you. In that case, that does conclude business for this evening. Oh, Councillor Mulligan, do apologise. Councillor Mulligan.
Sorry, I'll be very brief. I just want this question about consultants. It comes up every year in policy committee, I think. I actually think Councillor Barrett, this is a very keen topic of his. And I think we do answer it. And it's a bit of a red herring to me, because what tends to happen is if we are, let's say, we're a very small council. If someone decides to move somewhere else and we have an opening or a vacancy, we advertise it. If we can't find anyone, we hire a consultant to replace it until we can find someone. Now, if you look at the records, you're going to say, what are the consultancy fees? If you look over the course of time, you also have to ask the question, what are the underspends in terms of what we're paying people who have left, because we've lost positions? And it does even out. And generally, we're not paying huge amounts of fees to consultants. We pay to replace people when we can't find someone to fill the position for a time, and then we get someone in, and then it is a wash to a large degree. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for your point, Councillor Mulligan. Well made. Right, members, there's nobody else indicating to speak, and I do believe that now concludes matters for this evening. Thank you ever so much. I would say safe journey home, but well, there you go. Until next time. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jim.
Right, all.